much. And thank you everybody for joining our meeting tonight. I know for a lot of you, the Olympics are on. It's an exciting night. The men's downhill's on right now. And I know Michaela is having her big night. We're wishing her well. But we are so excited to welcome Jeff Olson to our meeting tonight and to hear what he has to say. Jeff Olson is a business and social entrepreneur. After retiring from professional athletics, he had successful stints in the financial and the technology industries. In 2000, he and his wife co-founded Health Food Agency. HFA delivers a new standard in consumption, production, and distribution of health food in partnership with one of the most successful health food companies in the world, Juice Plus Company. In addition, he is a co-founder of Altius Farms and Arietta Holdings. Philanthropically, he serves on the Council of Directors for the True Health Initiative and the following boards: Operation Victory Gardens, Hugo Center Endowment, Turn the Tide Foundation, and the Colorado Olympians Association. He is a two-time Olympian, a three-time national champion and Pan American gold medalist, and a two-time TEDx speaker. You can view his TEDx talk, An Olympic Way, and Victory Gardens, the sequel. He lives in Denver with his wife and three children, three daughters at that. God bless you. I have three daughters too. Jeff, thank you very much for spending tonight with us.
Well, thank you for having me. If you saw me moving around, I'm at actually a Denver City building in downtown Denver at an Olympic exploratory event, but I wanted to step away and come share a little bit about my journey and how all of this conversation hopefully relates to your life. Maybe you'll see in hearing my story, you might see some of your story. I think we here in Denver are excited about the potential for an Olympic bid, and that's what's going on upstairs. But I've been in this space of human performance for probably 30 years, 15 so as an athlete, and then another 15 on the other side of the fence, so to speak, trying to help athletes, on the field play game up and get to higher ground. I think that's at the end of the day. I think, I lecture around the country, and sort of the narrative title of my talk is Human Performance for Everyone. And I think the best example I can give you of human performance is pregnancy. Pregnancy is human performance, right? Human performance can be better circulation for a diabetic. Human performance can be more energy all day for postpartum and pregnancy. Human performance can just be, a twinkle in your eye and a bounce in your step, when you're 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. I mean, you meet people that are up to something in life and have a bounce and a twinkle and they've got game, so to speak. People want to know what's behind people that have that je ne sais quoi, that sparkle, that twinkle. And in the end, it boils down to some pretty simple lifestyle stuff. Eat well, move well, think well, pray well, love well. We end up stumbling, bumbling, fumbling, mumbling, and grumbling in the doing part of that. We've created a modern world that's not necessarily conducive to some of the simple things, the fundamental things like eating well, in the urban jungle or the modern world we've created. And so, the narrative of what I want to share with you tonight is higher ground, and maybe get you to rise or elevate with maybe some knowledge that you probably already know, but maybe you're stumbling with the execution. In the end, lifestyle, being unconsciously competent with lifestyle comes from maybe taking one simple change and then getting really good at that little thing where you just become, it's just the way you roll. And so I do a lot of sports nutrition talks, but I've found that what I can be talking to Michael Phelps on my right and my grandma on my left and my teenager in the front row and the greatest generation in the back row and the type 2 diabetic and a type A personality and a meat eater and a vegetarian and a Republican and a Democrat, and it doesn't matter. When you go inside the human body, we all kind of look the same, and from molecules, cells to molecules to tissues to organs to systems. What brings that to life, what makes it work is good food. What makes it perform is great food. Food is a weapon. It's the biggest drug on the planet. It's a weapon of mass destruction, but it's also a weapon of mass vitality. And that's a double-edged sword on how you use it. And in the end, the only thing really that's sustainable is taste. If great food doesn't taste, good for you, then you're not going to eat it. So I was introduced to this whole conversation about 18 years ago when my dad got interrupted with an intervention called cancer. And he called me in the depths of his cancer support group when you get a lot of armchair quarterbacks coming out of the woodwork and saying, do this, try this, what about this? And he was kind of deer in the headlights, glazed over, and he said, what do you think of this plant matter? These plant powders. And I can remember at the time I was just like, wow, that actually makes sense, Dad. Like plant matter, that matters, and you need to get it in your body every single day. I understood it at a guttural, kind of primal, maybe athletic level. Athletes are kind of ruthlessly practical. We will do what works. And I saw this as something that made sense. And if it was what they said it was, that matter was very different than molecules. And so I said, get on this stuff. So we were introduced to it through, a health scare of my father. My wife's a classically trained nutritionist from Ivy League. And, there's an ongoing joke that I brought her this idea, this concept, and she kind of poo-pooed it and had to hear about it from someone else. And, we call that third-party validation. But in the end, if you're in pursuit of knowledge, it'll catch up to the truth. And, just keep asking the questions and keep poking the bear, as I say. So let me give you a context of how I kind of come in and talk about human performance, really with anyone, for everyone. Food does a few things in the body beyond the joy of eating. Food fuels with glycogen and carbohydrates. I mean, carbohydrates gets broken down into glycogen, and glycogen is really the fuel source that's gasoline, right? So that's number one. And everyone's sort of heard of that. That's not really new. Number two is we build matter. We discard about 300 pounds of cells a year, and we make about 300 pounds of cells a year. And amino acids and protein are the building blocks of molecules and cells, and it makes us who we are.
300 pounds of
so
cells
the third pillar, right? The third pillar is what I call the blind spot. The blind spot is conditioning physiology. And what I mean by that is it's a concept, you write this down, it's just called food conditioning. I mean, you can go to the gym and work your body and condition your body over time. You go to school and condition your brain over time. Food will condition the body over time. And so this idea of food conditioning, well, how can you condition your body with food in a training sort of regimen? I mean, good things take time. Good things compounded over time will become maybe a tiny little advantage in a day, but you play it out over day, week, month, year, it becomes a profound advantage. And so in the instance of human performance, the first two that I mentioned, glycogen, carbohydrates, and proteins, amino acids, those are macronutrients. Those have calories. Those, there's a caloric aspect to both of those, as well as fats. And that's really not the conversation that I try to impart to people around human performance. What makes the body come to life and perform is everything else that has no calories. And it's vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, enzymes, and this whole other world called phytonutrients, plant chemicals. And there's tens of thousands of those things. And it is biopharma with an F, not a PH, biopharma, par excellence. It's just-in-time inventory for molecular majesty for your body to then actually synthesize it, use it, deconstruct it, manifest it, and turn it into something, right? And that turning it into something, I compartmentalize into three things. But and I'll come to that in a moment. But this idea of conditioning human physiology, if you want to get to higher ground, how do you condition your body with food? And it has to do with the micronutrition side. That's everything else beyond calories. And what it does once it gets inside us is it protects the body, it activates the body, and it modulates the body. It kind of does those three things. So I'll give you some examples of human performance in those categories. And for athletes or for fitness gurus or for people that are off the couch doing stuff, wellness is a pretty nebulous blob. It doesn't mean much to me. I want vitality, I want fitness, I want performance. When I was 20, I wanted to be a Ferrari and a Porsche in my body. and I treated it as such as an Olympic athlete. But now at 52, I just want to be a truck, man. I want to bang my body every day, and I want to get up and I want it to work. And then I want to do it again, and I want to do it again, and I want to do it again. I play soccer with 20 and 30-year-olds, and they now look at me and they say, I want to be like you when I'm 50. So, and so, but that comes over a compounding effect over time of conditioning your body. I say matter matters. Produce produces. Plant matter, the most nutrient dense foods on the planet, we just don't eat enough of them because for whatever reason. If you can't, you don't, or you won't. And in the end, if you've got that problem every day, it's not going to mean much in a day. It won't mean much in a week. Probably won't mean anything in a month. Probably not even in a year, especially when you're young. You can get away with a little bit more. But over time, that's going to catch up to you. You got to pay the piper at some point. And if you can put the odds in your favor and take higher percentage shots by cramming your body with more plant matter, that just made sense to me 18 years ago. And so, I've been on this plant matter, these plant powders, produce powders for 18 years, and I know it has a compounding effect. I am certain of that. So back to kind of the three pillars: the activation, the modulation, and the protection. Activation, let me give you an example of activation. When it comes to physiological activation, what about vascular capacity? That may mean nothing to you, but I want my vessels, my vascular capacity to get to higher ground and to maintain higher ground. And the ability for a blood vessel to expand and contract, that has to do with the biochemistry of good food. And there's a single cell lining in the vascular system called the endothelium. Well, as it turns out, the biochemistry, the molecules, the phytonutrients from plant matter make that organ, that endothelium, actually cause vasodilation and vasoconstriction. So you can imagine in your eyes, if you're worried about macular degeneration, in the outer reaches of your muscles, if you're trying to drive fuel and oxygen to muscles in the athletes, if you're trying to drive in the capillaries, with diabetics, you're trying to drive better circulation to your digits. That has to do with vascular capacity. That's performance. And you want a vessel like this, or do you want one that can expand and contract? So that's one example of just the activation side of physiology. On the modulation side of physiology, immunity. I mean, immunity is a frontline, backline, frontline foot soldiers, and you want a modulated immune system. You don't want it too jacked, and you don't want it too low. You want it kind of in this bandwidth. It's just like the sweet spot, so it can stand and deliver. How does a good cell go bad? How does a good cell go bad? How does it stand and deliver? Or how does it crash and burn? For your immune system, you want it just right in that sweet spot so it can stand and deliver. And when we have all this modern life, modern world, modern chemicals coming at us. So, immunity strength is a modulation sort of part of this food conditioning equation. And then protection. If you want to preserve, and this is getting really geeky, but I'll just go down the rabbit hole for just a second and we'll pull back. Mitochondrial density, just Google it. It's a thing. It actually gives you energy. It gives athletes energy in their muscles, but it gives you energy in your eyes and your brains and your lungs and your heart. All those tissues and organs that demand energy, require energy output. You want that sustained and maintained in the performance equation. If you want to maximize and sustain energy output, you've got to have mitochondrial density in your cells. I don't need to get into it. I don't have time to get into it. But what preserves mitochondrial density, protection of mitochondria in the cell, is protection from protection from oxidative damage. Athletes work really, really hard to develop mitochondrial density in the red muscle tissues of their red muscle tissue cells, but they take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. They don't protect those gains. So athletes, I talk about recovery, and you can write this one down. There's no such thing as overtraining, only under recovery. There is no such thing as overtraining, only under recovery. And I will tell you, my experience over 18 years is people start getting on these plant powders as athletes, as fitness people, and they notice an adaptive response. Their adaptive response elevates. They're able to beat their body hard and recover faster. That's a performance equation. But for the rest of us, I'm a weekend warrior athlete. I love to play and I love to beat my body and goof off a lot and use it. But if you're not an athlete, the term you think of is restoration, rejuvenation, reclamation, restoring those good cells and conditioning cells to higher ground. So, human performance inside us from food conditioning is, you got to activate stuff, you got to modulate stuff, you got to protect stuff, and that all comes from nutrient dense foods. And because we don't eat enough of them, I mean, 10 servings a day plus. I know all of you or none of you are Jane Average or Joe Average that are tuning in. It's 10 servings a day, and I'm in the food business. I don't do that every day. So I've used these plant powders in shake form and in concentrate produce form for 18 years. It served me very well. And what can I say? I think it's if you're on the treasure hunt to try to find tools in the toolkit that will serve you, I consider it my hygienic health food, and I've been taking it every day for 18 years. But food is a weapon. I understand it to be that, and here's some health food powders. It's kind of a health food technology that drives outcomes. But in the end, whatever you're trying to do, whatever your story is, if you got loved ones, if you got your spouse, if you got your kids, those you love, food is probably it's the biggest power tool in the toolkit that you have to impact human health, impact human vitality, impact performance, because it's something you have to do every day. I mean, I guess you can go, you can go a few weeks without eating food. I guess you can go a few days without drinking water. I mean, hydration is probably the most important. And then rest, obviously. Human performance actually happens when we rest. It happens late at night in heavy REM, when human growth hormone comes out to play. It interacts with the biochemistry of the food that we've ingested, and we recreate ourselves. And so for athletes, it's all about recovery, and that gets their attention. But most athletes haven't been trained that way. Most fitness people, they tend to focus on carbs and proteins and either bulking up or leaning out. But that's not going to drive your adaptive response. It's everything else. Think of it as oil and gas, right? In the car analogy, although Tesla's kind of messed that up. But you can't have a high performance or even a good truck without clean, good oil and fluids. And then gas, high quality gasoline, and the oil and gas analogy, still works in the body. You got to be. I tell athletes, if you want to be want to go to the Olympic Games, you got to be an A gamer in your sport. You got to be an A gamer in eating. And a lot of athletes at the Olympic Games understand food's a weapon, what we try to do for at least, I think one of my jobs is just to help people catch up. Like, this train has left the station, and we're all creatures of habit, and sometimes we don't know what we don't even know. And if we can come in and get people's attention long enough to say, wow, tell me more, and they get on that path to tell me more, they'll wake up and they'll lighten up, or be enlightened, and they'll see the value in kind of the conversation we're bringing to the table. So we've got, just at the Olympic Games, I can think of 2 or 3 athletes just off the top of my head that are pounding their body every day with plant powders and produce concentrates. So as a tool, it's a kind of that hygienic tool that I have in my toolkit every day. So I mean, I can go on and on and on, but I don't know, Ro, if you want me to transition into anything business related, or where you want me to go from here, or you want me to keep on rolling.
You can tell us a couple of reasons, like why you decided to join this company.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, number one is it was something I believed in. I mean, I was a consumer at the beginning. I became a raving fan. It was, something that I was taking every day, and I believed in it. I wanted those that I loved to be on it, and then I began to understand how, wow, no one else has this. Like, this is unique. And then I began to think, the entrepreneur back in my brain. At the time, I was working in the corporate world. I had retired. I was basically transport for testosterone in my 20s and 30s. I did sport, then I did Wall Street, then I did technology, trying to be a provider, working for the man, corporate guy. My wife, although she didn't get the product and the concept out of the chute, she came to it on her own terms through kind of third-party education. She picked it up as a side hustle, and I was supportive. And so I believed in the health food. I believed in the products. It just made sense. That's number one. Number two, I was a supportive spouse initially because my wife took it on. And then when she started paying the mortgage, it got my attention. I mean, got my attention. I had illusions of knowledge. I was intellectually ignorant. I did not know what I did not know as it relates to this business. I had perceptions of what I thought it was. But once I got into the community and started asking the questions and started having beers with corporate and meeting the people, I realized, hey, this is like these are my people. I want to roll with this crew. And so I was supportive spouse number two. But I was a slow learner. I had a thick head, and I had to marinate. I had to marinate in this conversation for 3 or 4 years before I kind of got all my questions answered. And then I had to look in the mirror, and then I realized, look, this is a killer company. This is a great company, doing good things in the world. And what's your problem, Jeff? And you know, a lot of it was attached to ego. Which maybe is an acronym for excludes great opportunity. But my wife and I have been full-time for over a decade, full healthcare benefits. And, I think I call us the Apple of health food, Apple Inc. of health food. We have got this technology, we think different, but we're trying to be the best for the world, and just stay in our lane and be the best in our categories. We pioneered categories and we're the best at it. I really like companies they're trying to be really good at a couple things. They're not trying to be everything to everyone. And so I appreciated their focus. So through my wife and her leadership, I joined her about 12 years ago. We've never looked back, and I functionally work for my wife. So it works out well. She can fire me, but she's got to hire me the next day. So.
Well, thank you, Jeff, for speaking on our call tonight. I've learned so much, and I've taken a lot of notes. We're so grateful and honored to have people of your caliber with us. Let me tell you about myself. My name is Ro Melnikov. I'm a National Marketing Director for the Juice Plus Company. I'm formerly an elementary teacher and an adjunct college professor. I resigned teaching to join this phenomenal company in their mission to inspire healthy living over 23 years ago. Why, you might say, would I leave my tenure, my pension, and a nice salary behind to join a marketing company when I had no experience in marketing? Well, my story began in a hospital bed. The doctors were trying to figure out how to use gravity to assist in getting the water out of my legs without having to lie me down. You see, my kidneys were failing secondary to systemic lupus, and I had excruciating pain in my chest from the pleurisy. I suffered with arthritis, liver involvement, bowel problems. I had 2 kidney failures, and I was always tired and achy and lethargic. I took tons of medicines and vitamins to no avail. I changed my diet, but I still had flares. The side effects of the over-the-counter and prescription medications were torture in and of themselves. I was administered these drugs, I was told by my MD, to avoid me going on dialysis. If they did not work, that was my next step. To add more insult to injury, my former husband of 13 years said to me, "You're too sick for me to stay with you. I want a divorce." We divorced in 1989. It took about 3.5 months of me detoxing from the medications with the Juice Plus for me to notice a difference in my health. As I continuously got better, my doctor weaned me off the medications. I can hear someone in the background. It might be someone on the phone, because I know we have everyone muted. Use your phone. Juice Plus lowered the inflammation in my body. It contributed to a healthier immune system. It improved my hair and skin and gave me so many other health benefits. I also started to crave more fruits and veggies. I now have been symptom-free with energy and vitality with no medications for 23 years. I also might add, I married my divorce attorney. We have 2 healthy young men, Tyler, 24, and Dustin, 19. Today, at almost 61, I'm healthier than I was in my 20s. My team and I have helped people with various health challenges, elite athletes and people that want to stay on the side of prevention. What attracted me to the business was its simplicity and flexibility. I was able to go on all my kids' class trips, attend their athletic events, and be there for them. There is no greater freedom than being able to do the things we love with the ones we love. That's what the Juice Plus company can offer you. My team and I essentially share Juice Plus and our business with others on calls and videos like this, one-on-one, and through live educational events. I more than replaced my income from teaching kindergarten and college. I receive, like Jeff, our corporate package that is comparable to many CEOs in big businesses. Nothing like I would ever receive as a teacher. Our business is for people that want to be able to help people while helping themselves. Our business is for people with full-time jobs, to moms that have full-time jobs, taking care of their kids. People do our business for various reasons. Perhaps to contribute to the household, to make a car payment, or put a child through school. For some like Jeff and myself, this has become our full-time mission. At this time, I'd like to share with you our next speaker, who will be speaking for us on March 22nd. So don't go away here. Let me see if I can get this up, share my screen with you. Here we go. Ta-da. Okay, Dr. Paul Williams, I think you should be able to read that, is going to be with us, and I'm really excited about that. You want to save the date. I'll have this event up on Facebook tomorrow for you. In addition to sharing this event in a private Facebook message, you can print out the flyer and share it with others. Let me just stop sharing. Let's see here. Okay, very good. You know, in closing, we all have life struggles. We're all dealing with each day. We all want a better quality of life. And the beauty of our programs and our products are that they offer people simple solutions to improve their health. We have numerous programs that make this transition into a healthy living style a lot easier than it would be to do it on your own. We have a shred program that will help you shred unhealthy habits and replace them with healthy ones. We have a program that will allow you to put your children on Juice Plus for free. Can you imagine that? Little ones, up to undergraduates, for up to 4 years. Our biz will allow you to add additional income in a fun and simple way, because we have so many tools that make, you know, sharing our product and our busy easy, just like we did tonight. So whether you're, like I said, a mom with a couple of kids or a senior that's looking towards retirement, we have a way that we can increase your income. There's a way to enjoy life, both the quality and the quantity. So please get back to the person who invited you here tonight. Life is short and you deserve to live life, you know, I like to say to the, you know, to the best or to the plus, you know, and as my friend Jeff says, game on. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Rome. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Jeff.
Good night.
Good night.